Hi, I'm Emma, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Worsted Willow Podcast. I am a knitter and crocheter, and this is my little corner of YouTube where I'm sharing all of my projects and anything else I kind of have going on in my life. So, very excited today to share all my updates. I started doing podcasts bi-weekly, and so now I feel like I have so much more to talk about when I come into these. So, very excited, lots of new projects today, and lots of progress on old ones. So, not wearing any knitting today, so it's a shirt from Target. But I do have one FO, and I kind of asked, or not asked, but I was thinking through some yarn suggestions and what I wanted to do for Sockmas 2022, which is an make-along hosted by Nitty Natty. It's a sock knit-along or crochet. The only requirements are that it has to be adult size and fingering weight yarn. So any height style of sock, just those requirements. I did it last year. It was the very first make-along I participated in. I basically learned how to knit so I could knit socks to make for it. I'll put a picture here of the socks that I made, and yeah, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, those socks now have a hole in them, but I really wanted to join again this year, so my goal is to make 2 pairs of socks, and I already have one done. So the make-along started the Friday after Thanksgiving, so the day after I filmed last time, and it runs through, I believe, December 16th. So have a couple more weeks left, but this is my first pair of socks. They are already definitely a little worn, so don't look at the heel too much. But these are the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry, and I used up some leftover scraps from my Twist and Turns MCal. So this was my contrast color and this was my accent color, and they're both less traveled yarn, 757 base. The very purpley one is Winslow, and this orangier one here is Sedona, and I absolutely love less traveled yarn. I use it on a lot of my projects. She just has some of the most beautiful colorways, as you can see here. So very happy. I've been wearing these around so much. I did knit a little too long of a foot, so the circumference and everything is a good fit, but I'm going to shorten the foot by about at least 5 rows. I'm undecided yet for my next pair, but very happy with these socks. I've just had a lot of fit issues with normal vanilla socks, and I did Nitty Natty's Perfect Fit sock course, and I think I'm having trouble with gauge swatching and things like that too. There's a lot of factors going into it, but the 2x2 ribbing all the way around just helps give it a much better fit overall. So very happy with that. Onto Whips is my second pair of socks, which is also a DRK Everyday sock, but this one is part scraps, part not scraps. So yeah, I'll show it up close, not with my magic loop in the way. So for this one, I am using this dark purple color. It is more purpley than that. It is leftover. This was my main color for my MCal, and it is Northern Beast Studio in Wine on the Dock. Here's the label for it. And it's Wine on the Dock. And I am working it with this yarn, which is a yarn I got last year and just have not decided what to do with it. I bought it with another yarn that I was thinking of making a shawl with, but ended up not doing that. So I'll say what it is. It's a Dream in Color yarn, and it's from their pop-up club, and this is their December 2021 colorway in Smushy Cashmere. So it's 70% superwash, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon, so it's insanely like soft and buttery to work with. But yeah, I figured it was perfect to use because it was a December colorway, so now I'm gonna have some like subtly Christmassy socks. So like you can see in it, there's like some burgundy and green and gold. So it's Christmassy without being like red and green, because I'm not too big of a fan, at least for garments, of like that classic red and green color combo. And it's gorgeous. So very excited to be working with it finally. The cashmere is so soft. And that's partially why I am doing the toes, heels, and then I'm going to do the same sort of striping pattern as I did here for the cuffs. But just to give it a little bit more sturdiness in the toes and the heels. So that is all of my Sockmas stuff. It was really funny. I was looking back at my old like Sockmas stories from last year on Instagram, and day 3 I had just gotten to the point where I was like about to put in my first waist yarn on my first sock, and day 4 was like basically finishing up this sock. So I have gotten so much faster at knitting, which to be expected. I had only knit one hat at that point last year. So very exciting, very cool to like see that progress from one year into the next. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, and I'm very excited. I've knit a lot of socks for my fiance, but not too many for myself. So I'm very, very excited to have some more socks around that fit me better than the ones I've already made myself. I mean, you can already tell I've worn these a ton, so the DRK Everyday Sock will probably be my go-to sock pattern for myself. And the heel is super easy on it. It looks kind of like a heel flap and gusset, but like there is a gusset and then like some short rows. It's really simple, so definitely recommend it for that as well. But next on my whip list, this one did not get that much love this week, or these last couple weeks, just because we haven't been out and about as much, but it is growing, and I don't need it to be done until Christmas Eve. So this is my Musselburgh for my sister, and that yarn looks so cool in the camera, but it is just a classic Musselburgh. I'm doing the adult small size, and I'm doing it with the Zauber Ball Crazy. So it's a green and blue one. I don't believe that there's an actual like colorway name for these. There's just a number, and it's just really cool. It's a like marled yarn, so you get these insane color transitions and stripings. So I want to say last time I was somewhere like here, so I added a couple inches. But I've worked Musselburghs really quickly in the past, so I know I'm not like behind or anything on it. So this one will hopefully get some more love this coming week. But I just have so many other fun things on my needles, so when I'm sitting at home, I'm not really working on it, and we haven't gone out too much. So yeah. So, on to my really fun projects. So, I'm currently at 3 sweaters on the needles. One of them you have seen, 2 of them have been cast on since last podcast. So, I think I'm just trying to see how many sweaters I can have going at the same time without feeling super overwhelmed. So, one of them is for a knit-along, one is for fun, and then one is a testament. So, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So I'll start with the knit-along, which is the one you guys have already seen. And oh my gosh, this thing really just, oops, the yarn is caught under the tripod. I'm sitting on my floor today because I wanted to be by the Christmas tree for December. I'm not doing Vlogmas, but I figured I could make it a little bit more holiday for the 2 episodes I have in December. So everything's like laid out in front of me. I honestly kind of like it more. It feels a little less stiff. And I have so much more easy access to all of my things. So, I don't know, maybe I'll have to figure out a floor situation for podcasting more normally. Okay, anyways. So the first one is my Easy V. Oh my gosh, this thing is massive. So, I do have a stitch marker in here. So last time I showed this, I was still in the color work. I was where that little clothespin marker is. And now I have finished the color work chart, done the short row shaping on the back, and then knit probably about 4 inches into the body. So this is now getting really massive. Put a little show of it on. Yeah, so this is for an in-person knit-along I'm doing, and it's supposedly ending December 18th, but I think right now I'm actually now one of the like furthest along in it. For a while I was like really behind. People were coming up to the end of their color work, and now I am much further because I finished the MCAL and I had more time to dedicate to a sweater. But, oh my gosh, it's so squishy. Anyways, I just sat down. I finished the color work, and then once I finished that and got through the short rows, it was just so easy going. And I did go to the knitting group this week. Sadly, I was like the only person to show up besides the owner, which is okay. I still sat there and knit for 2 hours, and it was just fun to be in the yarn store and not at home by myself. But yeah, I still sat there, got a good couple inches in, did some while I was watching TV. Yeah, I was basically just working on it until I heard back from the test knit, and now that's my main project. But yes, so I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of working out some stuff though. So I finished this color work, and there is supposed to be color work on the sleeve. Just basically the same pattern of 2 sets of spikes, chevrons things going on at the right before the cuff. But I'm using Blue Sky wool stock. And so for the main body, I got 1 big ball and then a few little balls because I didn't have any more big balls of that color left. But for the color work, I just got 1 little ball. And according to the yardage on Ravelry, I should have been fine, or like very nearly fine. But like, this is how much I have left. So I'm especially worried about this white color, because that's the one I have in the center section. So it's also the color that'll be used the most in the other color work. The dark purple is used the least, and I have a ton of it. And then I have a solid amount of the lilac. So I have a couple options in mind. First is just not do color work altogether, and I have these nice little scraps for something. And the other option would be to like rework the color work chart, so I just do one of each color chevron instead of 2. I think that's what I'm leaning towards now, because I do really like the color work on the sleeve, but I don't know if this is going to be enough. And then my third option would be obviously make 1 sleeve, measure the yarn before and after the color work, and see if I used over half of it. And then if I did, I would have to rip out. I'm not a huge fan of ripping out, but it might be necessary for this. This is like a tiny little ball, so I'm very worried. Yeah, so I'll have to keep you guys updated on that. I do have a project page for my Ravelry as well for it, which I'll link below. But yeah, I'm a little worried. And I know it'll be fine even if I get no colors in the sleeves, but that is kind of where I'm standing right now with that. So yeah, that's my my easy V, but I'm very happy with how it's going. And so the colors, because I don't think I went through it, the main color, this like beigey color, is Driftwood. The white is Highland Fleece. The purple is Lilac Bloom. And then this one is Pressed Grapes. So those are my colors. I'm trying to get better about making sure I talk about my yarn and the patterns and everything, because sometimes I get to the end and realize I didn't even say anything about it. So yeah. Next up on my list is a new cast on, and this is one I'm really excited to have cast on, but it's been a bit of a headache so far. So it's kind of in whip time out, but we'll see how it goes. So that is the Cargill Sweater by Rebecca Clow, who also goes by Crea Bea. She has a knitting podcast and YouTube and Instagram as well, and that is her Cargill Sweater. So I have not done too much into this, but here I'll show you the stitch pattern. So it's this really beautiful like rib dip stitch pattern, and I just really love how it looks. I really like the all over texture. I have a few sweaters from Target that are all over texture, but I realized they were made with cotton yarn and they're not actually that warm or good quality. So I really have been wanting sweaters to replace them. One of the ones I have is like the beigey cream color, and I love, love, love this stitch in the beige. One of her samples was in this like sort of beigey color. So for the yarn for this, I had a gift card for one of my local yarn stores. And so for Small Business Saturday, I went in and tried to find something. I really wanted to do a fingering weight held with like a mohair, because the pattern is either DK or fingering held with mohair, and it's just so pricey. I tried like, I really wanted to do the Hobby Friends collection, but that was just like $100 for the entire sweater, and I didn't really want to drop that on it yet. So I just looked around, was trying to see what she had, and I ended up getting some yarn, and it was cheaper than Hobby to begin with, and then Small Business and gift cards. So definitely happy with my choice in waiting to get yarn for this. So the first one is Cascade Yarns Refine, and so this is 100% recycled, and it uses 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% viscose. So could also be a really good sock yarn. For being superwash, because it's recycled material, it does feel more rustic normally than superwash. It feels more like a standard wool, but I really like it. And I think it'll make like a really warm sweater, and I really like that it is 100% recycled materials. It's really cool to see that. You don't normally see that with wool yarns. I know Joann's has a few, and Michael's has a few, but they're all like polyester or acrylic yarns, so very cool to see it with wool. And this yarn does not have a color, it just says color 18, so it's just a beigey color. Also, look at that spiral, that's so fun. And then for the lace weight, which I didn't end up with mohair, I ended up with Surrey alpaca. That is Plymouth yarn, Surrey Stratus, and this one is taupe or color number 14. So this is 68% Surrey, 32% nylon, and it just has this lovely little fuzz. I do like it because it's got a bit more with the nylon and everything. Oh, let's see. It's got a bit more of an actual like thread going through it, and then just some like fluffy hairs off of that. But so this is what it looks like holding them together. Really, really nice. But yeah, so my challenges so far with this sweater. First of all, it's one of the first times I'm doing knit flat for the back of the yoke, and then do increases and join in the round. And she has a video tutorial, but it didn't actually show the like dip stitch in the video tutorial, and then it was a little less guided than I had hoped, so I was a little bit confused going into it. So I'm pretty sure all my numbers are right, but then like when I'm looking at pictures and stuff and then trying to figure out what to do, it seems like I'm like one row off, which is a little bit weird. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, and I'm trying to wing it and see if I can just, you know, make it work. Basically, like I need to be adding these dip stitches in ASAP, but they only happen every 4 rows, and it's been kind of hard to like squeeze them in some of these sections. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I should be doing there, but I'm winging it, seeing how it goes. If I'm not liking it, I might rip out and find a different textured pattern because I still love this yarn color, and now I have an entire sweater's quantity. But I would love this sweater because it's so squishy and warm, and I'm hoping it all works out, but we shall see. It's kind of in timeout right now. I have 2 other sweaters on the needles, so not super high priority, but a sweater I would like to have and wear before, you know, summer. So we will see on that one. Okay, now on to the last project. So this project is super exciting. I started applying for test knits for the first time, and it's something I've been really interested in doing, but just haven't felt confident enough yet to do it. And I think the MCAL is what really helped me feel like ready to try doing something like this. So with the MCAL, it was my first project knitted flat. It was my first time doing a lot of picking up stitches. It was my first time binding off, doing I-cord applied like edging, all of these sorts of things. So it made me feel a lot more comfortable with my knitting. And I just felt like I really wanted to try test knitting. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. Not that long because I've only been knitting for a year, but it's felt like forever. So I am test knitting the Anne sweater by Roundtree Stitchery, or Melanie Roundtree is her name, and I'm in love so far. I've already gotten so far. I started the test knit on Sunday. I think I bought the yarn on Saturday because I was pretty sure I was going to be in it, just from like how she was promoting it on social media and everything. But was it 100%? So I got some yarn and then started on Sunday because I got the pattern sent out Saturday night. But I didn't have time to wind yarn and everything. So I did a gauge swatch first because I'm a good test knitter. I don't normally do a gauge swatch, but I feel like when you're test knitting, it's a really good idea too, because you're trying to make sure the pattern's working correctly and do all of that. So I did do a gauge swatch. I actually gauge swatched flat because I was more worried about my purl stitches being off, not my knit stitches. So I figured if I could hit gauge flat, then it would be fine because I'd just be knitting in the round. And I did actually start a round swatch, but I was getting pretty much the exact same gauge, so I stopped doing that and took the yarn out to use for the project to make sure I had enough yardage. But here's my little gauge swatch. Isn't it adorable? I love it. So to start with the yarn, I am using a fan favorite, but it's my first time using this brand and this base, and that is Malabrigo Rios. So this is a worsted weight, and it's 100% superwash merino. So, and my color that I chose is Sandbank. Ooh. It doesn't like this. Okay, there we go, Sandbank. And it's this like really lovely purple gray sort of color. It just looks beautiful. So you can kind of tell by all of my projects, I like those like slightly off neutrals. So I have the beige, I have the purples. It's all over the place. Not really. It's very consistent. Besides this hat. This isn't for me, so still consistent. But so this is like a very light purpley gray. And yeah, it's a super cute puff sleeve sweater, and I'm going to be doing a lot of things in it that I haven't done before. Actually, some of it now I have done because I'm pretty far. So let me show you where I'm at. So this is where I'm at with my test knit. So I have finished the collar. Hello. I finished the collar, and it's got this really nice square neck design, and it's partial ribbing, partial like raglan increases. And then I did some panel work after that, rejoined in the round so you can see my armhole there, and then I am adding, there's an alterations page, and I am adding some vertical bust starts, increasing to make it just a little bit wider around the bust. And I'm also going to add some waist shaping. So I am doing the size extra extra small given my upper bust measurement. But yeah, that sizing didn't work quite as well for the rest of my measurements, so I'm trying out the alterations area. Plus I figured with test knitting it's probably good to, you know, do the base pattern, but also to try out some of these extra things since there's a lot more technical detail and like calculations in those. So this is also the first time I'm doing a lot of like alterations to a pattern, except for like the Perfect Fit Socks course, which was obviously a ton of math and a ton of measurements. So it's really fun to like work on that side of things again and to make these like really tailored garments for myself. So very excited about that. It's knitting up so quickly with it being worsted weight. When I first started making things, I feel like I went through this like fingering weight only like phase because I love how small the stitches is, how close you can like get to like almost looking like a store-bought garment with the smaller yarn and the smaller stitches. But so I have my Easy V is worsted weight, this is worsted weight, my Lume sweater is also worsted weight, and they just work up so quickly. Like, I was like, when I was working on a fingering weight garment, I was like, yeah, I understand why like sweaters take forever. And I'm looking on worsted weight, and it's just so fun to see how quickly they come together. I mean, this is only like a few days of knitting, and it wasn't even exclusively knitting on this. So yeah, it's been super fun and exciting. And I really like test knitting so far. So I've always really liked kind of getting that like first look and like being able to help people out with their own creations. It reminds me like when we went to a board game convention, we did like test plays of some board games, and that was really, really fun. We got to like interact with the designer there as well, and I really like the concept of just getting people together to work on it. But yeah, and getting more interaction with the community as a whole. There's like a little group for test knitters and everything, and just getting to meet some new people and work on a fun new project. It's going to be adorable. I'm very excited for it. I'm not usually like a puff sleeve person, but for some reason on this like crop sweater it looks adorable. So super, super excited for that. Yeah. I've also been recently doing the weave in as you go method. I believe it's the weave in Steven method, but I learned it from Nitty Natty, has a tutorial on it. I did that with these socks so that I only had the toe start and the cuff end to weave in by myself, and So worth it. So worth it. So highly recommend learning how to do that. It feels more tedious in the moment, but like when you wrap up the project and you don't have to worry about those, it's so good. And I just left the ends in when I blocked them and then snipped them afterwards. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have. Also, just one last thing with the Malabrigo Rios. The softness factor after blocking it is just insane. So super excited for that. Yeah, so that's all my projects. Lots of knitting progress, lots of big projects right now, which is really exciting. I feel like it's the complete opposite of last podcast where I had so many finished objects, but they were all really small. And now I'm just like working on sweaters for myself. I'm definitely gonna have to do like a sweater wrap-up video once I get all these done, just to see kind of what I've made in the past year, because I had no handmade wardrobe last year, and now I probably have a stack of sweaters, which is really exciting. And it's one of my favorite parts of knitting, is just getting to wear something that I made. So, but anyways, on to acquisitions. I already covered the yarn, so I got the yarn for both the and sweater, or the test knit, and for the Cargill sweater. So I went through both of those. I did get one other little thing. So I really wanted a yarn advent calendar this year, but the timing is so weird to purchase them by, so I didn't end up getting one. But when I was at the local store for Small Business Saturday, they had this adorable stitch marker advent calendar. So this is by Firefly Notes stitch marker advent calendar, and it is really cute. They're British, not British, they're Canadian. They're from British Columbia, and so I read British for a second. So ignore the British, they're not British, they're Canadian. And yeah, I'm not sure if there's a theme for the advent calendar, but all of them have been really cute. It seems very vintagey. So some of the ones I've opened up, I've already like put them into projects. So this button is one of my favorites so far. Yeah, so there's this little button, and then also the clothespin marker. This one was a claw clip. The rest have been the closed circle ones so far. So both of those were from the advent. This little silk thread bobbin is also from the advent. That's on my hat. My Cargill doesn't have one. I haven't switched that out yet. The one I opened up today was this cute little tea bag, which I don't drink coffee, I drink tea, so I am absolutely, this is my favorite one. This one or the button is my favorite one so far. And then I got one other one that's not currently on a project, or two other ones. Let me just dump out all my stitch markers. So I got this little ruler one, and this little watch one. This is the one I'm going to have to put on all of my fiance's projects because he is a huge watch person. So I will have to start him something so I can put that on there. But yeah, that's my only other acquisition right now. So a little bit of a podcast update. I kind of mentioned it already, but I am going to be continuing forward with doing the bi-weekly podcasts. And then on the off weeks for podcasts, I still want to put out videos because I love it so much and I want to have that consistency of every week. So I'll be doing some other sort of topic videos. This past week I put out my favorite knitting and crochet gift patterns, so you can check that out. But yeah, I just want to be making videos because it's really fun. So if you guys have any video suggestions or anything you want to see, let me know in the comments. I have a few ideas, but it's always helpful to know what you guys actually want to watch. So that is my little podcast episode. And for other life events, not too much going on right now. It's been mostly holiday party season, so my fiance's holiday party for work was last week. Mine for work is this coming week, and we have my coworker staying with me. And it's going to be a little hectic, so that'll be fun though. And the added hecticness will be my fiance is currently serving in jury duty and then is getting his wisdom teeth out on Friday, which is the day my coworker shows up. So it's going to be a fun time. He's having a great week. Yeah, it's all good. That's pretty much all that's going on with life. I've just been watching Vlogmas and knitting and playing some video games, which is always a good time, and doing some wedding planning. So just kind of the usual around here. So yeah, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, and if you want to get notified about when I'm going to be posting again, please subscribe to my channel and you'll get those notifications. But thank you for joining me.